Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 70 of the In From the Japan podcast, the podcast where we talk about the latest news on Japan-developed games and other things in relation to them, available on YouTube and in most places podcasts can be found. Before we get into what we've been playing, we have a little bit of housekeeping for you. We have our second Pokemon Snap stream highlights video that features my buddy Andrew, and luckily we found some weirder Pokemon this time. Some of the weirder looking Gen 1 buddies like Machamp and Executor, and it's got us his reactions to those pretty good. And also our Final Fantasy XIV Fanfest reacts. And before that, we want to just have a note to say, make sure to support the IGN writers who had their article taken down about donating to
Palestine relief efforts.
Palestine-related charities, yeah.
But we also should make note that what's happening with IGN is important, but it should in no way distract from the bigger issue, which is the ongoing atrocities and all around.
Now, luckily, they came to a ceasefire agreement, it seems like, but that doesn't mean that all of it just automatically stops.
Yeah, there's still going to be need for medicine, rebuilding efforts, food, clean water, clothing, you name it. There are various streams and charities being thrown around. Well, I shouldn't say thrown around, but being
linked and donated to
on Twitter.
Shared.
You can check GameSpot's Twitter. You can especially check out Timur Hussein, who has been doing charity drives. I think he's up to 25K in charity donations. You can also check out Rami Ismail, who has been diligently covering all that has been going on in Palestine and in Israel. And if you need kind of like a Cliff Notes or a bird's eye view of what's going on there, then they are the people to be following. And we can't stress enough that human life is precious, that the people in Palestine are deserving of safety, of good health, of peace, of not fearing for their lives. And before anyone throws a whataboutism at us, so do the people of Israel. So it's not an either or. It's every man, woman, and child deserves to be safe, healthy, and in relative good health. So that is all something we should be fighting for. And that's all I wanted to say on it.
Back to the journalism thing. Just make sure, I know people like to write off IGN because they're the biggest. Remember, they're still the biggest game site for a reason, because a lot of the writers there do good coverage, but there is with a lot of games media sites, there's a bit of a divide between editorial and corporate.
Editorial dictates what will be written, and corporate/sales determines how the site will be monetized. And if you follow anyone that works there or who have previously worked there, they will be able to tell you that there is a separation between those two sides. And of course there will be sponsored content from time to time, but it's a way to keep the lights on.
And a lot of editorial doesn't usually have anything to do with those decisions of who they're sponsored by, like the GameSpot U.S. Army thing.
Yeah, and
which a lot of people were against a lot of the editorial staff.
Yeah, I do want to say that what's happening with respect to the staff at IGN, it's a very big issue. There are a lot of layers there. And hopefully we'll get clarity at the end of this week, and if possible, we'll probably tackle it in full next week. But
hopefully.
But again, I want to stress, let's not distract from the bigger picture issue.
Yes. Yeah. Imran Khan wrote a very good article about IGN's parent company overstepping damages all journalism for Fanbyte. If you want more info from like a more professional perspective.
There's also Patrick Klepek from Vice who covered it. So
who spoke to some of the IGN staff about it. All right. So after that, that was heavy. We're gonna go get back to the talk about the Japanese games we've been playing.
I think we should introduce ourselves first.
Oh, oops. Well, good thing I'm not redoing all that. So yeah, as always, I'm your host Erroll Mas, and with me is the phenomenon from Suriname, Jason Corey.
Hey.
And whoops. Well, if you don't know, now you know. So I played a little bit of Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood, did a boss fight against Susanoo, and that's it. I mean that for that game. It'll be our main topic, but I also took part this morning in the Dark Knight tribute line in Olda for author of Berserk, Kentaro Miura, who has unfortunately passed away. As of the news last night. He passed away like 2 weeks ago, apparently.
Yeah,
or something.
They wanted,
but it wasn't public until last night.
They wanted to make sure that the family and those closest to him had enough. Well, I shouldn't say enough time, but they had first priority, and with enough time passing, they then made it public.
Yeah, we'll be talking more about that later as our main topic. But I've also been... So yeah, the Susanoo fight was literally just like... Because I didn't realize it wasn't a dungeon. So, and when you're a tank, it's best to, look over the dungeon for any like mechanics you have to look out for. It was just like... the one thing I saw is like... Make sure your tank... have Susanoo attack your main tank and then have everybody else attack him from behind, and that's all I did. I just went in front of him and then we were good. Or I guess behind him, so he turned around. I don't know. But and I've been playing a little more new Pokemon Snap. Still a bit of a grind. It's weird. I've been having to look up guides because it will be like, to unlock this area, you have to get this other area to this level, or you have to take a picture of this, or you have to do that. And remember how I said I wanted alternate paths? So there is that, but it's one of the things where, so you have a scanner, right?
Yeah.
And it'll like an orange exclamation point will come up to tell you to use the scanner, and then you have to find the thing to scan. But because I don't have speed up or slow down controls, if you're not fast enough, you'll miss it.
Huh. Okay.
So and like usually it's for certain plants or Pokemon hiding in like grass and seaweed and stuff. But other times it's for it'll be scanning because it found an alternate path to take. Not like a long path, just like a short little, not a shortcut, but like a, what's the word for it?
Well, you said it yourself, kind of like an alternate path.
Yeah, it's literally just an alternate path. I was just trying to find another word. But yeah, so like there might be different Pokemon or and as you level up, actually, the Pokemon you see can change as you level up in an area. Because I was doing the ocean area in the daytime, and like once I got it to level 3, and I did it again, a couple different Pokemon showed up. So I'm like, okay. I mean, that had happened before, but it seemed more noticeable that time.
Okay.
I still enjoy it. It's really just that grind that's a little annoying, and I wish that like you could get experience a little faster, and it wasn't stuff wasn't locked behind a certain. I wish it was like more like straightforward for unlocking areas, more just like, all right, once you get to this area to this level, you unlock the night version, which it is for some areas, but like not all areas. I just wish it was a little more straightforward about like the leveling up to unlock new areas.
Yeah, gotcha.
Like the whole way through.
Yeah.
It would just make it a lot more easier, and I think it would help. This game have more of a replayability factor, like the first one has.
Now, do you think,
as of right now, I don't see myself replaying this game.
Do you think they'll be adding DLC to it, like new areas to explore or new Pokemon to see?
I have no idea, because there are already more areas than I expected. I only expected like 4 areas. There are like 6 or 7.
Do you have the need to have those like added content areas, or
no? I think well, we'll see. Once I have all the functions unlocked for all the areas, we'll see how I feel about that. But as of right now, no, I don't think it's necessary. And I see people who have finished the game and go back to try to get 4-star rankings for every Pokemon, and I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Well, maybe you would if the Switch had an achievement system. Like, no, probably not. I think that would definitely add to the longevity of the game, but as it stands, it's fine as is.
I also finally picked up Blue Dragon and Lost Odyssey. I haven't started playing them yet. I haven't even downloaded them yet because they were actually a little bigger than I thought.
Yeah, I think
not super big, but like
around,
it surprised me.
Like 6 gigabytes, between 6.
No, like 20, around 20 gigs.
Oh,
each.
right, because they were multiple discs.
Was Blue Dragon multiple disc? I know Lost Odyssey was. I don't think Blue Dragon.
A normal
was.
DVD has about 8 gigabytes. A dual layer would be pushing towards the 20. So I think it could be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, because it made me remember like, oh right, like these games weren't made that long ago, and they're not like super small indie games, so of course they're gonna be around 20 gigs.
Yeah, that is true. I'm still debating getting them because my TV is about to break. So I also have to think about a replacement for that.
What do you mean is it old? Or?
I think it's going almost on 5 years. And with modern tech, that's about all your...
Time to get a 4K.
It is a 4K TV, so it's...
Oh, time to get a new 4K.
I don't know if I'm getting a new 4K.
OLED?
No, I'm
don't know.
thinking...
That seems like the hotness.
With the Xbox Series S I have, I might go for like a smaller desk monitor with a high refresh rate.
That's always good too.
Yeah, because the Series S goes up to 120 FPS, and it's not really meant for 4K panels. You can, but you don't need to. So that's how I plan to save some money, I guess.
Just get a CRT and an adapter.
Yeah, that's the way to go.
When I first had my Xbox 360, they didn't come with. I don't know if there was ever. It might have been later. They came with HDMI cords, but the one I got, because I got the Xbox 360, the like smallest one, the arcade edition. So it didn't come with an HDMI cord, and the TV I had pretty low brightness.
Oh wow!
So when I played Red Dead Redemption, it was like really hard to see sometimes.
Did you never change the settings to kind of try to fix it?
I tried to, and the TV just was default kind of dark, and then once I got an HDMI cord, it got a little better. Man, that Xbox. Kind of wish I still had that hard drive now because I would have been able to transfer a bunch of stuff to my Series X. But oh well.
I mean, you could just if you have like digital downloads and save files, the save files will appear automatically via.
Yeah, they don't.
They don't?
I've looked.
Like
only a few things did. Only a few things survived.
Okay, that's interesting.
Surprisingly enough, Red Dead Redemption was one of those things, and I was like, I never digitally downloaded that, but all right.
Well, I think it recreates your save file based on like key login moments with the system backend and trophy information. Like say if you manage to beat like the final boss in Chuparosa and you have trophy for that one.
I don't even know what that is, but okay.
Chuparosa is like the Mexican setting in Red Dead Redemption.
Oh, in Red Dead. Why did I think that was a game?
Yeah, so imagine you have that trophy or achievement, and then that translates to a certain milestone, and that automatically creates a save data.
No, but no. Like it's not just it's not the save data. I have the game.
Huh.
I never digitally downloaded the game, as far as I remember.
I'm
not complaining. I'm just like, that's odd.
That's interesting. And you never had an Xbox One, right?
No.
Ah. Okay, then chalk it up to a freebie then, I guess.
Yeah, I just remember it because I'm using the same account. So.
Well, now that you mention it, like I checked my Xbox library today and I saw that I had Formula 1 2020 in my library. Mm-hmm. And as far as I remember, I've never bought that game or downloaded it.
So like I have a couple things. It was like Red Dead Redemption, Castle Crashers, Banjo-Kazooie, and Doritos Crash Course.
I mean,
Doritos Crash Course is a free game.
So, as far as games go, that's a solid list.
Oh, and Deadliest Warrior, the Deadliest Warrior fighting game.
Oh wow,
the first one. I'm just sad that like not everything like because I had Fable 2 did carry over, but Fable 1 did not.
Interesting.
And then I don't know. Super Marble Blast Ultra isn't even on backwards compatibility. Maybe it's a licensing thing. That's the other reason I wish I had that hard drive because the Simpsons Arcade was on there, and you can't get that anymore.
Yeah, bummer. Well, you could, but let's say you have to sail the high
pretty
seas.
Hard to, yeah, I mean you can't really get it on console easily.
Yeah,
that's what I mean. All right. So, you've been playing some visual novel stuff, huh?
Yeah, I have been spending a lot of time with the Famicom Detective Club. The first game in the series being The Missing Heir. There is
one a sequel to the other?
No, so
or something.
This is kind of confusing if you don't know the series timeline, but The Missing Heir is chronologically the second game in the series, but it is the first one released. The Girl Who Stands Behind, which is the second one released, but chronologically the first one, so a prequel. And it is kind of an interesting way how they structure the story, because you don't need to play one to understand the other. Like, if you play the prequel, you have some background knowledge of who the characters are in The Missing Heir, but it's not needed because they just do such a good job of catching you up on the story. So yeah, those two games are out now. You can get them in the dual pack for about $60. Or if you buy just one of either of these games, you get a discount for the second one digitally. Via the Nintendo eShop. But in regards to how the game plays, it's an adventure style detective game. It's very fun, very twisty and turny, and with some slight supernatural elements thrown in, but those supernatural elements could also be like a red herring. which is very common in detective stories. If you're familiar with Sherlock Holmes, you kind of know how these things play out. But it's a very fun time.
Yeah.
It's also interesting that Nintendo decided to publish these games in the West, because adventure games / visual novels are kind of niche, and Nintendo ones from the Famicom era are super niche. So them remaking it and then publishing it in the West is a very special occasion, I think. And
I think it's like the popularity of stuff like,
Phoenix
Ace
Wright,
Attorney, Danganronpa, and Zero Escape. I think they figured, well, this has an audience in the West. Might as well. Why not?
That's true. But I think Nintendo's trying to diversify itself and digging into its back catalog. Because in the past, when they ported games, or not ported, like localized games from Japan to Western regions, it was always on a case-by-case basis. Like, oh, does this fit with American audiences? Will they get this? Do they get the references? Is it too steeped into our own culture that they might find it alienating? And we have progressed so far that that's kind of not really an issue anymore. I mean, there are still special cases, but it's very notable that these games made it out to the West, and I like it. The only thing I don't like about these games is that they have, and any reviewer that has played this game will testify to this, they have very much the adventure style logic to them. Like, say, you need to put a banana in an electric socket to unlock a secret door. That kind of logic, and you're like,
what?
It's just an example. It's not what happens in the game, but it's just an example of, you have to put A with B, and that equals X, and it's never.
And it doesn't make sense.
It really doesn't make sense. And in this game, it's like, okay, I've exhausted all my talking points, and the character I'm interviewing is just repeating their answers. What am I supposed to do? I have no other locations I can visit. I have
to get stuck in Ace Attorney.
Yeah, I have no one to talk to. What am I supposed to do? So in some cases, you have to like shout a name multiple times, or like press an interview subject on a source subject until they like give up and like either chase you off or give up the interview. That kind of stuff. And they're like, okay, I guess. But that doesn't overshadow the fun you have trying to figure out what's happening and trying to kind of be the best detective you can be, and wanting to figure it all out. It's still a lot of fun. It's not a very long game. I'm on about
I wouldn't think so.
half of it. So I'd assume it's about 20 hours, maybe less. But it's a very fun time. I think if I'm done with this, I'll just immediately go to the next one, because it's. Oh, another thing I really like about it is it's a very subdued experience. It's not. If you've played the Phoenix Wright games, you know how wacky the characters can be and how like broadly exaggerated they can be in their like Japanese characteristics or European characteristics. Like they're pretty flamboyant characters, and this isn't flamboyant characters being flamboyant. It's just like small town people reacting to a murder case, or high school students reacting to a murder case. It's very subdued. It gives me a lot of Persona 4 vibes with respect to the investigation of a case. And yeah, I really dig it, and I think it's something people should definitely take a look at. And it's probably going to be some very fun times.
All right. I forgot to mention, I've been playing Ace Attorney with some friends, and we've been doing because the earlier since the earlier games aren't voiced, we've been just doing silly voices for them. Yesterday I made the judge the gingerbread man from Shrek.
Oh wow! Is it something you were doing in anticipation of Famicom Detective Club, or is it like?
No, it was just because I'm not the one playing it. My friend is.
Oh, okay.
And we just decided to do that because I don't think I'd be playing it.
Oh, okay.
Well, there's one Ace Attorney game that I'm interested in.
The one that's coming out?
No.
Wait, which one are you interested in?
The Professor Layton one.
Oh.
But that one's not that easy to get.
No, it is
these
not.
days. All right. Moving on to the In From Japan J list, where we talk about recent video game related entertainment news. Fans pulled over which anime or manga should be live action, and most replied, none. This is from Brian Ashcraft over at Kotaku. Yikes, a Japanese poll asked 1,000 men and women ranging in ages from teens to 60s to name which anime or manga they'd like made live action, courtesy of Hollywood. The reply that took the number one slot should surprise no one, really. It was, nothing or none. Top 10, but after none, the top 9 after that is Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan, Jujutsu Kaisen, Naruto, Detective Conan, Slam Dunk, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, My Hero Academia, and Hunter x Hunter. Now remember, they said Hollywood adaptation, so I'd like to see a poll like this, but with just a live action Japanese adaptation. Because you got to remember, Attack on Titan and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure both have live action movies.
I'm gonna drop a hot take. No one should be doing live action adaptation of anime.
Hey, Speed Racer. Is the exception.
Okay,
it's just like the one exception.
Speed Racer is like the 1 in a billion good adaptations that is also one of the best movies ever. For some reason.
Yeah, I need to rewatch it.
I don't know how that's even possible, but yeah,
I was trying to watch it over Discord with some friends, and Discord could not handle all those colors.
I think why Speed Racer is so good is because they really leaned into every single element that made Speed Racer, and they didn't shy away from it. Like they weren't embarrassed about the embarrassing things. When you see live action adaptation of anime in Western areas or territories or Japanese studios doing them, it's kind of like they're kind of embarrassed about it and doing it like
a lot of Japanese live action anime adaptations don't usually turn out that great either. The exceptions being stuff like
the Rurouni Kenshin ones, even though the author is like hot trash.
Yeah, that's kind of tainted. I was gonna say, Death Note, not the Netflix one, the Japanese ones that were made like a while ago, not the Netflix one.
Like
I hear mixed things about the Full Metal Alchemist thing.
From all I've heard, the Full Metal Alchemist one is the one you should avoid. Surprisingly enough, the Bleach one wasn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
Yeah, there's the Diamond is Unbreakable, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure one. Who the director of the Diamond is Unbreakable adaptation also directed the Phoenix Wright live action movie, which is apparently ridiculous and amazing. And there's the Attack on Titan live action movies, which are apparently terrible.
Yeah, which is surprising because the director also.
You would think that would be able to be adapted a little easily. It's not, especially the earlier parts.
The thing is about Attack on Titan is it takes place in a European styled country, so
yeah.
It being fully Japanese, it's also already kind of like a different take, and
yeah,
Japan doesn't have a good track record of doing CG well. Surprisingly enough, it all kind of feels like like big budget tokusatsu project.
It usually depends on the movie, but yeah.
Instead of like an earnest effort in CG. But yeah, that's all I can say about it.
There's also there was like a Tokyo Ghoul live action movie that apparently was all right, and a Black Butler one that was not so great. So I most things, it's better to keep things as anime. But if you're gonna do a live action adaptation, probably don't want Hollywood doing it.
Nope. Well, the Gundam one gives me some hope, even though the director
we'll see.
The director is kind of problematic in some cases.
Well, not just that, but Skull Island is very, even among like kaiju fans, seems to be very mixed. A lot of people think it's the best thing ever. I'm just like, I'm over here like, it's all right.
No.
And I love, how much I love the MonsterVerse.
As a movie, Skull Island is very good. That's my take. As a monster movie, or a kaiju movie, I can't speak to that. But as a movie, it's very good. Let's see. There's also a Naruto movie in production. A One Piece.
I feel like there's that. I feel like that Naruto one has been like in production forever.
Yeah, probably, or development hell at this point. There's also a One Piece live action
the One
show.
Piece series. They're actually filming that, and then Cowboy Bebop as well.
Yeah, so we'll see.
We'll see. Next we have so this is a Takeshi Kitano's history program to feature tokusatsu. This is by Kevin N for Tokusatsu Network. So this already happened on May 15th. So it's a pretty long article. But I follow some big tokusatsu fans who live in Japan who speak English. So they were talking about how this program actually when it went really did a deep dive into the history of like Japanese special effects. And they talked about Ultraman, Kamen Rider, Super Sentai, early days of tokusatsu like Godzilla and Moonlight Mask, which Moonlight Mask is like the first tokusatsu hero essentially. Ambassador Magma. I don't know what that is, but it's around the same time as Kamen Rider.
Sounds like a cool name.
And Ultraman. It reminds me of Captain Magma from SpongeBob. It just apparently it just does a really good deep dive into just the whole early history of the genre. I don't know if there's anywhere you can actually watch that, especially subtitled, but it might be a good thing to look out for in the future. Next, Netflix sets Ultraman animated movie with all new story. This is from Variety by Adam B. Very. For 55 years, Ultraman has been one of Japan's A-list superheroes, defending the planet from alien kaiju and inspiring all manner of global pop culture, from Power Ranger to Paul Rudd's Ant-Man suit. But while the character has a loyal following outside of Japan, Ultraman has never become a massive crossover phenomenon at the scale of Godzilla or Pokemon. Netflix is hoping to change that. The streamer is partnering with Subaraya Productions to develop Ultraman as a CG animated feature film aimed at bringing a new, wider audience to the beloved silver-suited character. Shannon Tyndall, an animator who's worked on Coraline and Kubo and the Two Strings, will make his feature directional debut on the project. From a script he wrote with Kubo screenwriter Mark Hames, John Aoshima, who worked on DuckTales and Gravity Falls, will co-direct.
All right.
I did not know about the Kubo thing. That is probably my favorite Studio Leica movie, and also maybe just one of my favorite animated movies ever.
Well, there you
go. So that gives me hope. Netflix is also home to an ongoing Ultraman animated TV series, also in partnership with Subaraya, that continues the storyline from the original live-action Japanese series of the 1960s. But the Ultraman feature will strike out on its own with an all-new storyline designed to honor the past mythology while introducing the character to a potential global fan base. Similarly, the animation from Industrial Light and Magic will be stylized but not strictly anime, as this exclusive first look at the concept art for the film demonstrates.
That's interesting.
The film will follow Ken Sato, a superstar baseball player who returns to Japan to become the latest hero to carry the mantle of Ultraman. His plans go awry, however, when he is compelled to raise a newborn kaiju monster, the offspring of his greatest enemy, as his own child. Sato will also have to contend with his relationship with his estranged father and the schemes of the Kaiju Defense Force. There's a lot more, but I think that's... plan is a mix of Japanese and Western stars, even though no actors have been cast yet. Just don't put Josh... What's his name?
Hutcherson?
Yeah, just don't put Josh Hutcherson in there, please.
I mean, if given a second chance, I'm sure he'll do a better job.
We'll see in season 2 of Ultraman. Growing animated feature. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so this is exciting. Subaraya is really going all in with the global audience stuff between their YouTube channel, the airing of Ultraman Z, all these different Ultraman series available on Mill Creek and Shout Factory. So they're really going all in with trying to get that global audience now.
Yeah.
Which is just great to see.
I think...
and Shin Ultraman coming out, of course.
It feels like it's taking, like it's resonating with people in the West these days, even so far as having like indie publishers doing tokusatsu comics.
Yeah, there's also Radiant Black is a great series so far.
Yeah, there's also...
And there's only 4 issues in.
There was this Kickstarter for...
Red, Inferno Girl Red.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, more power to them.
Oh, not even just that. There's also the Ultraman Marvel comic.
Yeah, exactly.
By Kyle Higgins, who also does Radiant Black and did some Power Ranger stuff. And they're doing a reboot of the Marvel hero Darkhawk, and it's going to have a lot more tokusatsu influence.
I mean, if you look at Darkhawk, he's like just... He really...
already looks the part.
Yeah, he already looks the part, so... yeah.
Next story on the J-list. Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway's Flash faces third COVID-19 delay. This was like a Gundam news website by Mafty105. I don't know. Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga declared a third state of emergency in Japan April 23rd in Tokyo and the western prefectures of Osaka, Kyoto, and Hyogo in an effort to curb the surge in COVID-19 cases in the island nation. The state of emergency was stated to last from April 25th to at least May 11, 2021. However, it was extended to May 31st, increasing to 9 affected prefectures. Earlier today, the official Mobile Suit Gundam Hathaway's Flash Twitter account posted the film will be delayed from its May 21st, 2021 release date. The announcement of a new release date will be made soon. This will mark the third COVID-19 related delay for the feature, which was initially set to release last summer on July 23rd, 2020. And it's supposed to be the first in a trilogy of anime films helmed by Shuko Murase. And it's the official sequel to 1988's Mobile Suit Gundam Char's Counterattack movie. Yeah. So, sorry, Gundam fans. Oh, I forgot to mention about Ultraman. Also, James Gunn is apparently an Ultraman fan.
Yeah, that tracks.
So that's a thing. Yeah. And real quick, one more thing. Godzilla Singular Point will be released on Netflix in the US on June 24th. I feel like that was rumored a long time ago, but nobody was sure of the source, and then it just ended up being true. So, whatever. So yeah, we're getting more Godzilla stuff. And last story. So I couldn't find a story for this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just from following people in the Tokusatsu community on various forums and social media. But Toei has been really cracking down on fan subs, particularly of... I don't know if it's particularly of Kamen Rider or Sentai specifically, but I know that a lot of some of the biggest fan sub groups have been trying to take a lot of their own stuff down, so they don't so Toei doesn't take further legal action. And like this happens every once in a while, but hopefully if they're because they're cracking down harder this time, hoping it means more official releases because they can see the interest. That's what most of us are hoping, but we won't know for a while. But you can always support official releases through Shout Factory and the Toei's YouTube channel. Although they do not have Sentai on there, at least in the US. So next up is recommended content other than news from the past week listed out, links in the description. We have interview. Hisashi Koinuma talks about Samurai Warriors 5's development by Jenni Lada for Siliconera. Beyond Mother 3, the best Japan-only Nintendo games in need of localization by Graham Russell for Michibiku. Koei designing historical games is a 1988 interview that was translated by shmuplations recently. What are the best RPG vehicles of all time by Siliconera staff for Siliconera? I would say the Dogen Arc from Rogue Galaxy. Why? Because it's a spaceship that looks like a boat ship. A pirate ship. That is why.
That's a new term.
It's pirate ship. I should have said pirate ship. Why were anime dub openings so weird by Sean Aitchison for Fanbyte? That topic seems to come up every once in a while. Puzzle Bobble VR Vacation Odyssey interview with director Matt Bettelman by Sal Romano for Gematsu. Oh, I guess I have to get VR now.
Like you needed an excuse.
Taiko no Tatsujin Pop Tap Beat review drum solo by Jason Fanelli for GameSpot. Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster review, Persona's Badass Uncle by our friend Lucas White over at Prima Games. And Rampage Series Retrospective by friend of the show Josh Nichols for Retroware.
For a second there...
Do you think...
Go ahead.
Wait, hold on. I need to check something real quick so I'm not accidentally using the wrong pronouns. Hang on. Oh, I can't see.
You wanted to know Josh's pronouns?
Yeah, non-binary, but I'll just say Josh. Do you think Josh... People ask Josh...
what they're...
No, if they're... they're the Josh from Drake and Josh. Because it's the same exact name.
I don't know. I mean, he hasn't mentioned it on Twitter, or like they haven't mentioned it on Twitter.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I can't say. We should ask them once we have.
Yeah, I'll ask Josh. Yeah. Although I don't want to, because I feel like it's one of those things where they might get it a lot.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to ask you that.
I mean, well, we should get them on the podcast one of these days.
Yeah. Next is time for the news rundown. We don't have any baddish. Well, we do, but we
well,
we talked
there's
about
no
a little earlier in the main topic.
Industry-specific bad news or bad-ish news.
Besides the IGN thing that we already stuff we already talked about. So yeah, so we'll get straight into the other news.
Yeah. First up, we have Nintendo president.
I'm gonna go get some water while you do that.
Okay. Nintendo president explains why R&D Switch game expenses are going up. This is by Jenni Lada for Siliconera. The Q&A summary for the Nintendo financial results briefing for fiscal year ended March 2021 are in. Nintendo President Shuntaro Furukawa took questions about the future of the Nintendo Switch and its games. This included why research and development (R&D) costs are going up and what people can expect in the future. Essentially, developing games and preparing for next-gen development can get expensive. Here's Furukawa's exact statement on why Nintendo is spending more money on R&D. The question came up as the fiscal year ending in March 2022 estimates suggest it will cost nearly 100 billion yen. And the quote reads, "Our software development costs, which include outsourcing, are increasing as we work to maintain a continuous stream of new titles for Nintendo Switch as it enters the middle of its life cycle. Because per title development costs are higher now than they were on past platforms, we anticipate that R&D expenses will continue to rise as we work to maintain a sizable lineup of titles. We are also conducting a variety of studies which include investigating ways to enhance our digital business and future services that will help maintain long-term relationships with our consumers, as was touched on in the corporate management policy briefing last September. In addition, the development of the next generation of hardware needs to begin years before launch, so R&D expenses for that are gradually rising. We are aiming to grow by continuing our integrated hardware software entertainment business, and that means conducting all sorts of research and development in various areas, including both hardware and software." Furukawa also talked about meeting demands for new Switch systems and games. As for games, he noted, "Many new software titles will be released this fiscal year, starting in the first quarter." That would be a surprise if the head honcho of a games company said, "Oh, we're not doing anything this year. We're
not releasing anything this year. Maybe next year.
We're just chilling, vibing." He also mentioned that the COVID-19 pandemic will affect system production plans, specifically mentioning semiconductor material acquisition issues. There is an added quote on that, but you're gonna have to click on the article to have a full rundown of all of these details. So yeah, I think it was this week or last week on Twitter was people's speculating on what Nintendo is cooking up next, because they read that they are in R&D on something new, like for new consoles, and I'm like, every games company is in R&D on what's coming up next. It's not like they put out a console and then just sit on their laurels for 5 to 10 years. It's a continuous business. They are actively investigating new ways to bring new content in what form it might take. Yeah. It's really up to time, but they are always working on what's next.
Yeah, and people always do the whole, Nintendo has no games, and it's like it does. They just released some visual novels, and I know that's not for everybody, but it's like they're releasing games.
I think that the conversation should be, at the moment, there's nothing that immediately grabs my attention, but people don't want to say that.
People don't want to admit that. Yeah.
I mean, you could try.
Because I know there are some big names that have been saying stuff like that, and I'd be like, no, they did, back in the they didn't really release that much for 2020. It's like they had Xenoblade and they had Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity and they had this and that, but if you're not into any of those, then yeah, I guess maybe they didn't release anything for you.
I mean, in all fairness, I think what they're driving at is big new releases, not necessarily remasters or remakes.
But they're still saying this, and we have Mario Golf coming. We have Skyward Sword is a remaster again, but we have Monster Hunter Stories 2, which is a Switch console exclusive.
Yeah, AAA games put out by Sony have kind of skewed our perspective on what should be coming out on consoles. So there is that.
Yeah, and there's stuff to be said about, I've heard some people say, Sony knows what their AAAs are, they're supposed to be a certain way and this and that. I was like, no, that's the problem. We want more experimentation and more variety. There shouldn't be some definition of what some set definition, because then we're getting too samey. You know what I mean?
Well, it depends.
I don't want everything to look like Uncharted, and not look like. Like is the wrong word.
They've all been selling well, so with the exception of maybe Days Gone and Killzone, not selling gangbusters, but they all relatively sell well. So they are doing something right.
Yeah, I don't know. Next up, Game Center CX can now cover PS2, GameCube, and Game Boy Advance games. This is by Kite Stenbucks for Siliconera. The Japanese gaming TV show Game Center CX is now able to cover games from PlayStation 2, Nintendo GameCube, and Game Boy Advance, since more than 20 years have passed since the console releases. The show's Twitter account made the announcement after the host Shinya Arino completed a playthrough of the NES game The Legend of Zelda in the latest episode. Game Center CX has been airing on Fuji TV 1 since 2003. There is a general rule that the show can only cover game consoles that are at least 20 years old. Man, they had to... When that first aired, they probably were only playing like Atari games and stuff, huh?
Probably.
However, there have also been exceptions to that rule in order to mark special commemorations. Arino has collaborated with Nintendo multiple times due to his connections from this show. In October 2015, Super Mario Maker received a DLC costume and an event level made by Arino himself. In 2016... Nintendo gave Arino a special challenge to catch all 151 Pokemon in Pokemon Red and Green to mark the release of Pokemon Sun and Moon. Bandai Namco also previously released games based on this television show for the DS and 3DS. The latest title, Game Center CX3, released for the 3DS in Japan in 2014. These games are also known for featuring original games inspired by famous retro games. For example, Game Center CX3 included an original RPG titled Blood of the Dragon, which had its gameplay system taken from Final Fantasy V. Huh. Yeah, so I was wrong about the 10... yeah, 10 years is not retro. 20 years. Well, that's what we'll go by.
Yeah.
20 years is retro. So Skyrim is not retro. It's okay. We're okay. We're okay for another 10 years. Alright.
Okay, next up we have Getsu Fumaden Undying Moon available for early access on Steam. This is by Kazuma Hashimoto for Siliconera. Getsu Fumaden Undying Moon is now available to purchase in early access through the Steam storefront. The official Steam page details how the early access period will function and how long the game could potentially remain in early access. Additionally, purchasing Getsu Fumaden Undying Moon in early access through Steam will come with special rewards. Consumers can get their hands on this game in early access for $24.99 through Steam. Shout out to Famitsu. Yeah. Do you think you're getting this, or are you waiting for a full release?
I mean, I'd wait for a full release.
Okay.
But I feel like the early access is not... as a bunch of people, when this game was announced, were very interested in it, and I feel like this early access stuff is not really being advertised. So people interested should check that out if they have the chance and like really want to.
I think it's also because they really want to iron out all the kinks before they start advertising it.
Yeah, that's true.
But yeah, we'll see. Next up, we have Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker expansion launches November 23rd. This is by Sal Romano for Gematsu. The Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker expansion will launch for PS5, PS4, PC via Steam and Mac on November 23rd. Square Enix announced at Final Fantasy XIV Digital Fan Fest 2021. The physical collector's edition is a bundle containing a copy of the digital collector's edition for PC and Mac, as well as a physical collector's box containing an art box, expertly crafted paladin figure, an art collection and frame set, Azam pin, and a Loporit mini plush. The digital collector's edition has an Aryan mount, a wind-up Porum minion, and a Death Sight Reaper weapon.
Loporit.
Loporit?
Like Lopmon.
Okay.
Yep.
And the pre-orders of Endwalker from participating retailers include the following bonuses. Early access, with it being scheduled for Friday, November 19th, 2021 at 1 a.m. Pacific time. An in-game item being the Menfina earring and a wind-up Palom minion. As for what's coming up in Endwalker, you have a new job, the Reaper. So I can go full Shinigami in Final Fantasy 14. The new playable race, aka the male Vieira. A new city, Old Charlian. And new areas, Labyrinthos and Mir Lamentorum. New tribes to encounter, Loperids. New threats in Major Sisters, new Alliance raid series, Mists of the Realm, and a new data center for Oceania. So there's that. That's a lot of news to get through.
I pre-ordered the physical collector's edition.
Oh, look who!
I fell into the hype.
Look who's being a big boy. Are you done with Shadow Walker?
Shadow Bringers?
Oh, Shadow
No, dude,
Bringers.
I just said earlier I'm still in Stormblood, but by the time that comes out,
right. No, I mean, like,
I figure all
you buying a collector's edition is like it's kind of rare. It doesn't really happen all that often.
Like Monster Hunter Stories 2 and like Monster Hunter has been the exception so far.
Yeah. Like, I know you like buying physical games, but collector's edition is kind of a rare.
Yeah, because there's no physical game with this, so. They made a point that they don't do physical anymore for Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah, it's kind of easier to just have the expansions be digital. Yeah. Next up, we have Final Fantasy 14 patch 5.55 and PS5 official service arrive at the end of May. This is by Jenni Lada for Siliconera. Big things are coming to Final Fantasy 14 at the end of May 2021. To be specific, both the Final Fantasy 14 patch 5.55 update will arrive and PS5 official service will begin on May 25th, 2021. This will bring new quests like an epilogue for the Nier Automata-inspired Yorha Dark Apocalypse. The announcement also offered a reminder about new features in the PS5 version. Everything came up during the May 2021 Fanfest letter from the producer live part. We did this last time and I keep forgetting what it means. LXIV, is that like 34? LXIV 64. It's 64. Okay. Put that out of the way. Kind of like doing quick maths in a podcast.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Yoshinori Kitase succeeds Shinji Hashimoto as Final Fantasy brand manager. This is also by Jenni Lada for Siliconera. As part of the second day of the Final Fantasy 14 Fanfest on May 15th, 2021, a torch was passed. During the opening presentation, Square Enix executive director and senior member of the board of directors and former Final Fantasy brand manager Shinji Hashimoto appeared on stage. It was then revealed that Square Enix's Yoshinori Kitase is the new Final Fantasy brand manager. Throughout his time with Square Enix, Yoshinori Kitase constantly worked on the Final Fantasy series. For example, he worked on the original Final Fantasy Adventure and the Game Boy and Final Fantasy V on the Game Boy, and the Final Fantasy V port on the Super Nintendo. Most recently, he worked on both Final Fantasy and the Saga series. Most recently, he produced Final Fantasy VII, the Final Fantasy VII remake, and he's also the executive producer on both the upcoming mobile games, Final Fantasy VII, The First Soldier, and Ever Crisis. Final Fantasy XIV producer Naoki Yoshida said Yoshinori Kitase was named Final Fantasy brand manager in April 2021. So there is that.
Yeah.
I kind of had it mixed up in my mind where I thought Yoshi P was the brand manager and not Yoshinori Kitase. I mean, Yoshi P is still a very big figure within Final Fantasy, being at the helm of 14 and 16, so yeah. Next up, more Final Fantasy news. Masayoshi Soken wrote Final Fantasy XIV music while battling cancer. Once again, this is Jenni Lada for Siliconera.
Oh yeah, we were right. No, it is they them for Josh. Just as an addendum.
Oh, okay.
I saw them in the right. I was looking in the wrong place.
Okay.
Wait, never mind.
Continuing the story, at the very end of the Final Fantasy XIV May 2021 Fanfest activities, there was a final announcement. Final Fantasy XIV lead composer Masayoshi Soken and director and producer Naoki Yoshida announced that Soken composed music for the game while fighting cancer in 2020. Soken said he is now almost in full remission and was cleared to attend and perform at the event with the Primals by his doctor. Soken began by saying he wanted to talk about something in his personal life. After expressing his thanks, he then announced in around March 2020 he was diagnosed with cancer. He said he didn't really tell anyone at the time. Until October 2020, he spent 6 to 7 months hospitalized being treated. He said he didn't want to sit there and do nothing, so there was a special arrangement where Soken both fought cancer with chemotherapy and composed Final Fantasy XIV music at the same time. He specifically mentioned working on patch 5.3 music and To the Edge. There's some more quotes and details in the article, so please click on that. As for Soken, people are calling him the Warrior of Light. And
do you see his performance from the other day?
Yeah, I saw it.
With the little auto note or whatever.
Yeah.
The little thing.
The video where
God.
he also talks about, or where it's being talked about, his cancer diagnosis and treatment is also pretty emotional. And if you're up to it, I recommend watching it because it really showcases how often we forget that developers are also very much human. And we wish Soken all the best and a full recovery. Next up in Final Fantasy Land, Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate details Nero, Scarlet, battle mechanics, Fort Condor, and Ramuh. This is by Sal Romano for Gematsu. Square Enix released new information and screenshots for Final Fantasy VII Remake Integrate, introducing characters Nero and Scarlet, synergized attacks and limit breaks, the minigame Fort Condor, and a new summon Ramuh. You can click on the article for a full breakdown and all that. There's a lot to go through.
Yeah, there's a lot.
But
don't worry about that.
It really feels...
Oh!
Yeah?
Nero is voiced by friend of the show, Sean Chiplock.
Oh, yeah. That is true.
We just learned recently. He announced.
I just wanted to say that Integrate / Intermission is shaping up to be a very sizable DLC.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. For those who have a PS5, enjoy. For those of us who don't...
I have to re-download the actual game.
I guess we'll see you next year. Yeah, it's like a full remaster, so
yeah,
you're gonna have to.
Oof. Yeah.
At
least it's not for a little while. Next up, Kingdom Hearts games leaving Xbox Game Pass. This is by Jenni Lada for Siliconera. The one thing I don't like about Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass. I mean, this doesn't matter to me because I have all the Kingdom Hearts games, but.
So what's your point?
I just made it general.
Okay.
Because Final Fantasy X and 12, well, Final Fantasy X has a while because it just got on there, but I worry about them going off before I get the chance to play them.
Okay.
Xbox Game Pass won't offer a complete Kingdom Hearts experience anymore, as some games will leave the service on May 31st, 2021. Microsoft announced the 2 collections now have expiration dates. This is a last call for Kingdom Hearts AC 1.5 plus 2.5 Remix and AC 2.8 Final Chapter Prologue. Between these 2 collections, people essentially had access to every major Kingdom Hearts game. Here's a list. There's a title. All the titles. While these 2 Kingdom Hearts games will leave Xbox Game Pass, one will remain. Kingdom Hearts 3 joined the service on February 25th, 2020. It will remain even after the 2 compilations are gone. Yeah, so
I mean, it was inevitable.
If you want to play Kingdom Hearts real fast before, or at least try.
Games don't stay on Game Pass forever.
Game Pass, unfortunately.
They have to rotate every now and then to keep things fresh, and also because new games keep coming out, so you're gonna have to balance it somehow. But that doesn't mean they won't make their return eventually or someday.
Eventually. I don't know if any Game Pass games have made returns yet.
I think there was one, but I forgot which that would be. But
eventually we'll get to that point, but not right now.
if you have a game from Game Pass in your library, you get like 10 to 20% off, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if it's something you still like and you want to keep playing it, you have an option of adding it to your collection by buying the full game.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Next up, Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis Prologue for live stream.
Did you
set for May 25th.
almost say Final Fantasy Star?
No.
Okay.
Featuring the post-launch roadmap and more. This is by Sal Romano for Gematsu. Sega will host the Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis Prologue 4 live stream on May 25th at 20:30 Japanese Standard Time. Like 8 o'clock? 8:30? The publisher announced. You will be able to watch it on YouTube. The live stream will feature the latest information on Phantasy Star Online 2 New Genesis, including new fields that were not playable in the closed beta test, characters that appear in the story, scratch items, and more. The post-launch roadmap will also be introduced. Presenters include Yuki Iwai, Haraichi comedian, as the main MC, Yunosi, the streamer, as the assistant MC, and Hiro Arai from Sega as the official navigator. So it's due out in June for Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC in North America, and for PlayStation 4, PC, and the cloud for Switch and PC in Japan. But Phantasy Star Online on Twitter, today they said, they tweeted out something about, they just had a tomorrow. They just said tomorrow.
That's interesting.
And nobody knows what they mean.
Did you play the closed beta?
No, I didn't get the chance to.
Okay.
But it seemed like people really liked it. I follow Eric Sapp from IGN on Twitter, and he seemed to really dig it. And his enthusiasm for it, I'm like, I think I'm gonna like this. Reminds me of, probably talked about it before on the podcast, but it reminds me a little bit of Phantasy Star Universe that I used to play the demo of with friends back in the day.
Yeah.
But you can't play anymore.
I think who was I following? I think Maximilian Dude, who was kind of hyped for it, and Easy Allies were pretty hyped about it. So yeah, maybe it's something I'll look into.
All right, cool.
You were gonna say?
No, it's something about we talked about before the podcast that I got an answer to.
Okay.
Next up, Ni no Kuni Cross Worlds launches June 10th in Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. Ni no Kuni mobile game gets a release date. This is by Sal Romano for Gematsu. Ni no Kuni Cross Worlds will launch for iOS via the App Store and Android via Google Play on June 10th in Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan. Level 5 and Netmarble announced. Pre-registration is currently available. Really hope this gets
localized?
Some kind of localization, if possible. Because it looks pretty good. Like, graphically, it actually looks surprisingly good.
The tricky thing is
the
online,
whole level 5 thing.
Yeah, besides that, but online mobile games are kind of a risky endeavor in the West.
Is it like always online?
Yeah, it's
almost
like
single player. Oh yeah, I would have like co-op.
Yeah, it's kind of like an MMO in the Ni no Kuni world, I want to say.
Yeah.
But the bigger publishers are kind of like prone to dip out if they see that they don't make enough bank. So yeah, it's really risky. Hopefully they find a way to make it possible, but we'll see.
All right. Next up is Ni no Kuni again. Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom Princess Edition coming to Switch on September 17th. Includes both post-launch downloadable content packs. This is once again by Sal Romano for Gematsu. Publisher Bandai Namco and developer Level 5 have announced Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom Princess Edition for Switch. It will launch both physically and digitally on September 17th in the Americas and Europe for $59.99. I didn't think they'd do a Switch version of this just because... we'll see how it runs. Well, no, more because, I don't know how well it will run on Switch.
Well, the first...
But yes, also the Level 5 thing, because Rebecca Valentine of IGN was saying who broke the news about Level 5's North American branch pretty much being gone.
Mm-hmm.
What was saying, let me find it. Oh, she said she has no new knowledge after her report last year, but the press release for this was sent by Bandai Namco and barely mentioned Level 5, which affirms further for me that Level 5 is, at least in North America, is done.
Yeah. I think that was pretty much settled. Just...
I can pretend to have Yokai Watch 5 in the Final Fantasy XIV Island Sanctuary.
Who published the Yokai Watch games in the West? Do you know?
Level 5?
Themselves?
Unless it was Nintendo. Wait, hang on. Because we never got Yokai Watch... that Yokai Watch 4 localization never got finished.
Mm-hmm.
So, I don't know who... publishers. No, Nintendo published the first one in the West.
Okay, so
I don't know about the sequels.
If Nintendo thinks it's feasible to jumpstart the franchise again, you could see like a localization for Yokai Watch 4, but I think at this point it's unlikely.
Well, the whole problem, also the fact that it had a PS4 version because they didn't want to restrict it to Switch, I guess. Plus the whole thing with Yokai Watch 4, and then they had to make Yokai Watch 4 plus.
No, I meant if Nintendo thinks that Yokai Watch is worth giving another shot, they'd probably handle the localization themselves. Like how Bandai Namco is doing the localization, or like the porting effort of
it was all Nintendo.
Yeah, so I think at this point Level 5 is kind of a distant partner in all of this. But I guess we'll see in the future.
Just sad. Next up, Ace Attorney and Ghost Trick return to the iOS store. This message is approved by Missile. This is by Kate. Missile is a dog in Ace Attorney.
Okay.
This is by Kate Gray for Nintendo Life. Earlier this year, Capcom took down a few of their games from the iOS store in order to update them to work with the new iOS 14. The 3 games affected were Ghost Trick, Phantom Detective, Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Dual Destinies, and Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney, Spirit of Justice. Apollo Justice Ace Attorney and Ace Attorney Investigation Miles Edgeworth were still available. But now it's time to crack open the bubbly and solve some murders, baby, because the Ace Attorney is back. Also, Ghost Trick, one of the greatest games of our generation. Truly, today is a frabjous day. Look, I don't know.
I mean, I'm sure Kate has her reasons for calling it one of the greatest games of our generation.
This news comes courtesy of the official Japanese Ace Attorney Twitter account, which also states that the great Ace Attorney 1 and 2 are returning to the iOS App Store too. And yes, we checked. Although the great Ace Attorney games aren't on the English App Store, the others are. For anyone who accidentally forgot to take their 3DS with all the Ace Attorney games out of storage when they moved house, read the author. This is excellent news. And they have the prices for each game. So, because I'm wondering if Ghost Trick maybe in the future will get a Switch port. It's not out of...
out of question?
It's not... Yeah, it's not out of the question or anything, yeah. So it's possible. A lot of people love that game.
Yeah, but I think mobile is probably where it's at.
Well, we'll see.
Maybe if they do like a Game Boy Advance or a Nintendo DS section of the Nintendo Online service.
I don't know if they do that. That might be a little harder to do.
Probably, but
One is porting one game. The other is harder.
I'm just saying if they do it, it's probably something like that. But we'll see. Okay. All done?
Our next story. Moving on. Mario Golf Super Rush trailer looks at its 4 modes. This is by Jenni Lada for Siliconera. Nintendo released quite a lengthy Mario Golf Super Rush trailer that looks at how you play, who you play as, and the modes you can go through. Every element is covered, from optional motion controls to the RPG-like golf adventure mode. First, the video talked about control schemes. Someone can use the Joy-Cons to play with motion controls. However, traditional control schemes are also available. Then, the Mario Golf Super Rush trailer went over the roster. 16 characters will be in the game at launch. When you hover over one, you can see their power, stamina, speed, control, and spin stats. Here's the full list of playable people shown in the video. Boo, Bowser, Bowser Jr., Chargin' Chuck, the football-playing turtle.
Yep, he's a thing.
He went to go play golf. Daisy, Donkey Kong, King Bob-omb, Luigi, Mario, Pauline. Oh, that's good. Peach, Rosalina, Toad, Waluigi, Wario, and Yoshi. As for Mario Golf Super Rush modes, there were 4 shown in the video. In addition to both the Golf Adventure RPG-like affair and Standard Golf, 2 more unconventional options will appear. Battle Golf is a 9-hole game where you play all at once and try to score 3 of them before any other player. Speed Golf is where you're playing all at once using things like special dashes and shots to get the best score. It comes to Nintendo Switch on June 25th, 2021. I'm excited for this still.
Are you gonna get it?
Yeah.
I don't know if golf is for me. Like, even if it was a Mario.
I mean,
Mario
real
Baron.
golf isn't for me. I'm not. You don't see me playing those PGA Tiger Woods games. No, no.
I mean,
not about that.
I like mini.
Everybody's golf is as close as I can.
I like mini golf, but I don't know. We'll see.
Have you ever tried Frolf?
What the heck is Frolf?
Ribbit King is a GameCube and PS2 game where you play as these really weird aliens and ducks and stuff, and the balls are frogs.
No, that does not ring a bell.
It's a thing.
Okay, I take your word for it.
And everybody's golf, although the golf itself is pretty straightforward, it's the other stuff you can do that's pretty silly.
Yeah.
I also wish they would port that new Clap Hands golf game to something besides Apple.
Well, we say that, but mobile is pretty big in Japan. This being a Japan-made game.
I don't have any devices that have the Apple thing on them.
I mean, it makes sense for the developers. I didn't say it'd have to make sense.
You need a TV. I would need a special TV for that.
Well, you don't need to. You could buy an iMac Mini.
I don't. The same problem with Fantasian. I want to play Fantasian, but
I mean, you could get like the Apple iPad, the like standard one.
I guess I could, but I'm not the biggest fan of Apple products in the first place. So I don't know.
Make up your mind, man.
I'll wait to see if they're maybe ported someday. I don't know.
Fingers crossed.
Danganronpa, next story. Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony mobile port to release in May. This is by Kazuma Hashimoto for Siliconera. Spike Chunsoft announced that they're spicy. Spike Chunsoft announced that the mobile port of Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony will release in late May 2021. Additionally, this port will come with a gallery feature which will allow players to look at in-game illustrations. This includes the option to listen to character voice lines, character sprites, and view past bonding events. Japanese audiences can get their hands on Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony on May 26, 2021 for 1,960 yen or $17. Lets players switch between English and Japanese audio, with English, Japanese, and traditional Chinese text options available. Include 2 additional mini-games, Ultimate Talent Development Plan, and Despair Dungeon Monokuma's Test. What I'm saying is, Danganronpa Switch Collection win?
Was it Uchigoshi? Who no?
You mean no, not
Kodaka.
Kodama?
Kodaka. Yeah. Didn't Kodaka say that a Switch collection is likely?
Maybe. I don't know.
I mean, with the World's End Club being on Switch, even though it's a different developer.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah, I mean the Switch is like perfect for visual novels and detective games, and
yeah, I'm surprised like Zero Escape doesn't have a Switch port yet. The Zero Escape collection.
it could be like exclusivity rights when it comes to like consoles.
They have PS4 and Steam. Oh, okay. When it comes to consoles,
yeah. So it could be that. Okay, next up we have Shaman King Funbari Chronicle announced for mobile devices. This is by Kazuma Hashimoto for Siliconera. The new Shaman King title is currently in development for mobile devices. Shaman King Funbari Chronicle will release to Android and iOS devices in 2021, and Studio Z will be in charge of developing the title. The mobile game will allow players to re-experience key moments from the story. Pre-registration for the app will begin in July 2021. Shout out to 4Gamer. No mention if it is coming to the West. Let's see. Yeah, I think it's Japan only for now. Yeah, Japan only for now. But we'll see. I mean, the anime is coming to Netflix, if I'm not mistaken. The manga is also freely available on Comixology Unlimited and I think Kindle Unlimited or Prime Reading. I have to check, but yeah, Shaman King is trying to make a big comeback, so fingers crossed. Next up is Summer Game Fest 2021 begins June 10th with showcase event. This is by Sal Romano for Gematsu. Summer Game Fest 2021 will begin on June 10th at 11 a.m. Pacific Time or 2 p.m. Eastern Time with a live world premiere showcase event hosted by Jeff Keighley, the event announced. You will be able to watch it on
2
YouTube
days before E3
more.
starts.
I mean, it was bound to be a mess, as Jeff Grubb likes to put it. Let's see, the publishers or partners, as you will, for the Summer Games Fest include 2K Games, Activision, Amazon Games, Annapurna Interactive, Bandai Namco Entertainment, with people speculating that this might be Elden Ring, but all the industry insiders are saying that's highly unlikely. Blizzard Entertainment, Capcom, Devolver Digital, .emu, Electronic Arts, Epic Games, Finji, Frontier Developments, Gearbox Software, Hi-Res Studios, Innersloth, Koch Media, actually Koch Media, because it's kind of German, Mediatonic, Microsoft, MiHoYo, Psyonix, Raw Fury, Riot Games, Saber Interactive, Sega, Sony Interactive Entertainment, Square Enix, Steam, Tencent Games, Tribeca Festival 2021, Ubisoft, Warner Brothers Games, and Wizard of the Coast. You might be like raising an eyebrow at Tribeca Festival, but if I'm not mistaken, they're also trying to make a push into digital media, like video games and whatnot. So this partnership is probably like the beginning of that, but we'll see. I'm saying a lot of, I guess we'll see this episode.
I mean, we'll see. You know, we can't be like, oh well, this is what's gonna happen for sure.
Yeah.
Honestly, at this point, Summer Game Fest is kind of just an extension of E3 because it's the same week, so it's just like, well, might as well just be around the same thing. And then, what was it? EA was the one who moved their thing?
Yeah, they're doing EA Play.
But they decided to move it away from E3?
Yeah.
Which I wonder if that will get less or more views. That'll be interesting to see. Next we have Super Bomberman R Online launches May 27th for PS4, Switch, and PC, later for Xbox One. Seasons and Battle Pass system announced. This is once again by Sal Romano for Gematsu. Super Bomberman R Online will launch for PS4, Switch, and PC via Steam as a free-to-play title on May 27th, Konami announced. The Xbox One version will follow at a later date. Konami will also introduce new in-game seasons for all platforms, including the existing Stadia version. Each season will last 3 months and bring new items, cosmetics, and a new bomber hero. Season 1 is headlined by the addition of Old Snake Bomber from the Metal Gear Solid series, which can be obtained using in-game bomber coins. Seasonal content may only be acquired during each season. A battle pass system was also announced, consisting of silver passes and gold passes. The details include silver pass free for all players. The more they play Battle 64 mode, the more they can level up their rank and earn cosmetic rewards, including taunts, accessories, and poses. There will be 100 ranks within the silver pass, providing plenty of free content during each season. Gold pass, the optional gold pass, offers greater rewards over 100 ranks, including many more cosmetics and other items that do not directly affect gameplay. The gold pass will be available for 800 bomber coins. Currently, that can be purchased in packs via the in-game shop or on the platform store. Bomber coins are also offered as gold pass rewards. The ranks and content for both the silver and gold bomber passes are seasonal, so players will need to climb up the ranks again once the new season starts to earn more rewards. Konami also announced that in celebration of Super Bomberman R reaching 2 million units sold, it will distribute a commemorative double platinum cake outfit for all players in Super Bomberman R Online. And I don't know if it said here, but I saw somewhere that this was also going to have crossplay. So that's good. I will definitely be trying it.
Also crossplay with Stadia?
I don't know.
Poor Stadia. Poor Stadia.
But yeah, I'm excited. I like the original Super Bomberman R.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the Switch games I ever bought. I actually bought that and Breath of the Wild before I even got my Switch. So
well, there you go.
Because it was like sold out everywhere. But
next up,
we
have Capcom sales update. Monster Hunter World Iceborne at 7.7 million, RE7 Biohazard at 9 million, and more. This is by Sal Romano for Gematsu. Capcom has updated its list of platinum titles, games that have sold over 1 million units, providing total sales numbers as of March 31st, 2021. Notable updates include Monster Hunter World Iceborne at 7.7 million units, RE7 Biohazard at 9 million, Monster Hunter World proper at 17.1 million, Resident Evil 3 at 4 million, RE2 at 8.1 million units. That's about almost the same as RE7. Street Fighter 5 at 5.5 million, and Devil May Cry 5 at 4.3 million. Yeah, Capcom is definitely on the upswing.
Capcom's back, baby.
Now do Okami. Capcom do Okami challenge.
And the Battle Network, Mega Man Battle Network collection.
And God Hand?
And God Hand. Can't forget God Hand. And Sengoku Basara. Come back. Come back to us.
Just for Erroll, do Sengoku Basara.
Just come back for us. You see how popular these Muso games are? It's time. It's time to localize Sengoku Basara 4 Sumeragi.
There you go.
Next, otherwise I'm gonna have to add it to my import collection. Next up is Monster Hunter Rise broadcast to reveal version 3.0 information. This is by Kazuma Hashimoto for Siliconera. An upcoming Monster Hunter broadcast will reveal more info about Monster Hunter Rise version 3.0. Additionally, more information regarding Monster Hunter Stories 2 will also be part of the broadcast. Yes. The official Capcom USA Twitter account revealed the date and time of the upcoming broadcast. Viewers will be able to watch through YouTube or Twitch. The Monster Hunter broadcast will be on May 26, 2021 at 7 a.m. Pacific Time, 10 a.m. Eastern. Information regarding Monster Hunter Rise version 3.0 update has been scarce. Outside of previously revealed information, Capcom has remained silent regarding what monsters could potentially appear. However, the update patch is scheduled to release sometime at the end of May 2021, and the broadcast will announce several monsters. New information about Monster Hunter Stories 2 will also be revealed during the broadcast. However, what that content has yet to be disclosed. Viewers will simply need to watch the broadcast to find out more. Will the 2 extra amiibo finally be up for pre-order? I hope so.
Fingers crossed.
Next up is Ninjala downloads top 7 million. This is by Sal Romano for Gematsu once again. Free-to-play online action battle game Ninjala has surpassed 7 million downloads, publisher Gung Ho Online Entertainment announced. Ninjala's previous downloads milestone, 6 million, was achieved in January 2021. The game first launched for Switch in June 2020 worldwide. To celebrate the new milestone, all players who log in before June 16th will receive a free gift of 100 Jala in-game currency, which can help you get cosmetics for your weapons and outfits. And I think they're still doing the Monster Hunter Rise collaboration outfits too. So you want to get your hands on that Jala so you have a chance on getting a piece of those Monster Hunter outfits.
Yeah.
Without having to spend extra money. I played Ninjala every so often. It's still pretty fun.
Yeah. I don't think I'll ever have the time to play Ninjala, but I hope to try it one of these days.
Try it. We need to make an IFJ arcade with the
Ninjala matchup. That would be cool.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Bethesda's E3 2021 conference will be connected to Microsoft's E3 conference. This is by Jordan Alleman, with the subheader being Doom Guy and Master Chief to co-host. Surely. Microsoft and Bethesda will host a joint E3 conference this year. The news was revealed in an interview with Le Figaro, where Xbox Game Studio head Matt Booty said that the two companies will share the spotlight during E3 2021 following Microsoft's landmark $7.5 billion acquisition of ZeniMax. Microsoft and Bethesda will host a joint conference this summer to introduce players to their upcoming projects, the article reads. On Twitter, the author Chloe Wautier noted the conference would be coming in a few weeks, most likely during E3 2021, which takes place from June 12th to 15th. So there you have it.
Bethesda isn't a Japanese publisher? No, but they own Tango Gameworks, who are making Ghostwire Tokyo. So that's why I included that story. Also, Microsoft they could announce Bandai Namco games. We could see Elden Ring at that. Who knows?
Maybe, possibly. But I don't want to lead on the people.
Yeah.
So
I'm saying we could. I'm not saying we will.
Yeah. Most likely we'll see Ghostwire Tokyo because
I haven't heard about it in a while.
And all signs point to it being finished or near completion, maybe. Because Ikumi Nakamura, who was previously the art director, had left the studio, like, I want to say 2 years ago now. And usually when an art director leaves, it's kind of like all coding and figuring out how the game actually functions and performs. And I'm sure COVID hasn't like improved anything for QA, for working from home, to speed up things. So I guess I think the motto of this episode is we'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of Souls games, we mentioned earlier that the Berserk creator Kentaro Miura has unfortunately passed away. As of it was breaking news last night.
Mm-hmm.
And you could really see the impact he had on a lot of people.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of articles just about how he Well, let's read the article for some Siliconera first. This is by Andrew Kia. Kentaro Miura, creator of the Berserk manga series, has died. The news was announced by Young Animal magazine and Berserk's official Twitter accounts. The author died on May 6, 2021 at 4:48 a.m. Japan time due to acute aortic dissection. He was 54 years old. Both announcements include a few words from the editorial team at Young Animal magazine. Head of the editorial department, Takayuki Nagashima, stated that Miura always loved thinking of new ideas and sharing them as if he were a child. He always enjoyed watching movies, anime, and books, and used them as resources to create his manga. He added that Miura passed away surrounded by family and friends, and requested that fans give some space for the grieving family to heal. Takamura Ryu, who worked closely with Miura in managing the series, recalled meeting him when he first joined the company. Takamura said that Miura was always thinking up new and interesting ideas, and mentioned that Miura himself was looking forward to putting them out over the next 30 years. Prior to his death, Kentaro Miura was an influential figure in the anime and video game industry. Born in Chiba Prefecture in 1966, he studied under Hajime no Ippo creator George Morikawa before publishing works in Shonen Magazine and others. Morikawa has since shared his own personal account of working with Miura, revealing that the Berserk author had been planning out the series' characters before they had even met. In 1989, Monthly Animal House magazine published the first serialization of Berserk. It would then go on to inspire multiple series, such as the Dark Souls and Monster Hunter series. I keep seeing that. I keep seeing Monster Hunter being mentioned, but I never see where that comes from.
I think it's like in some of the armor sets.
Yeah.
I think specifically the dragons. That kind of
also big swords.
Yeah, also big swords, because I think Guts, his Buster Sword is kind of like the progenitor of all other Buster Swords. So I think that tracks. But yeah, I don't think they mean his influence was replicated in tone or world setting, because well maybe for the
Dark Souls, yes.
Maybe for the Monster Hunter movie, because the first half is pretty dark. That's all I'll say.
Players in Final Fantasy XIV are also holding a vigil across multiple servers using Dark Knight characters, which I am, so I felt it was best to pay my respects this morning. Like, I think every server had like a Dark Knight vigil lined up down the street of Olda. Dark Knight job draws inspiration from the character Guts from Berserk. Additionally, the Young Animal states that they are looking to create an independent tankobon booklet in honor of the author. The booklet will include some of Miura's unpublished works. Young Animal magazine will share further information about the booklet on the official homepage at a later date. So, we also have some other selected articles that you can read for this. We have Remembering Kentaro Miura, legendary creator of Berserk, which inspired countless fantasy stories, by Gene Park for Washington Post. Kentaro Miura influenced more video games than you realize, by Imran Khan for Fanbyte. Berserk, Remembering Kentaro Miura through his storytelling, by Kate Sanchez for But Why Though. In Imran's article, he also mentioned that, he also mentioned how it inspired the character of Cloud and his Buster Sword. How Itsuno said it inspired the Devil May Cry series. Around the concept of things a 14-year-old would find cool.
I mean,
a concept he learned from reading Berserk.
It's definitely something you see in a lot of popular media, especially from Japan, I want to say, where people just are kind of exploring the things they used to think were amazing as younger people. You see it in Hideo Kojima and in Devil May Cry, definitely. Because like for example, for the sci-fi like RPG that I want to write, I have this whole list of things
that like stuff is already inspired by, and stuff I want to watch to see if I get inspired by that, or like watch or play or read or whatever. And then Itsuno took this idea into Dragon's Dogma, which was so influenced by Berserk that the original release even straight up included armor sets of Guts and Griffith. From Software, very famously, Hidetaka Miyazaki. I remember like there was an interview where he said when he was a kid he'd go to the library and read Berserk. And it's a very direct, some kind of a very huge inspiration for it.
Yeah.
And you could really feel like I've never really been like the biggest Berserk fan. But last night and this morning you could just really feel the impact he had on just both video games and anime. And even something recent, the Castlevania, apparently like there's a sequence in season 4 of the Castlevania show which is like an homage to Berserk or something.
I haven't seen the latest season, but I wouldn't. I can imagine that being true.
One of the
I think the director
one of the people who worked on the
yeah.
And if so, you can luckily the giant deluxe volumes of Berserk, of which there are 8, and probably altogether would cost about $400. But by themselves are like $30 to $40 each. They're all discounted right now. Luckily, you can also get, and those deluxe editions are like all 3 volumes in one. Or you could get the regular size volumes digitally for about $8.99 each on like Kindle and Comixology. But you're only saving about $40.
Yeah.
So it's pretty expensive to buy all of them.
Yeah. It could be pricey, but
if you can,
I think it's worth it.
Yeah. If you can read it, you should.
Oh.
There's also the old anime series is actually pretty easy to find because the people who had the people who licensed it don't have the license anymore.
I do want to warn people who think about starting Berserk. There are some instances, or many instances, of sexual violence.
Yes,
violence in general.
It can be very triggering.
So if you're sensitive to that, maybe approach it with caution.
Yes, but it is very. From what I've heard, it's very good about dealing with trauma and finding hope after experiencing really intense trauma.
That might be true, but there are scenes where trauma is being inflicted, especially at the end of...
I'm not saying that excuses anything.
I'm just saying it as a warning to anyone who wants to try it, especially the end of the first season. And if you're familiar with the second CGI season, you have my condolences, Sue.
You don't want to. That's the one you probably don't want to watch. That one.
Like, if you want a condensed version of the story and you have no time to read the manga, by all means.
You got the 3 movies on Netflix. You got the 3 movies on Netflix too.
Yeah,
the 1997 anime series is actually like pretty easy to find, and the DVD itself, although it's out of print, it's $80, and it comes in a really nice box. So, and I'm sure you can, if you look at your local like media store, like used media stores or eBay, I'm sure you can find it for maybe an even better price.
Yeah,
but like I said, you can find it very easily.
The first anime series is very, very good.
The animation like still looks good.
Yeah, it's traditional cell animation, and you don't see that anymore almost. It's a very grounded take amidst all the fantastical elements. A very grounded take in how war and ambition changes us as people, and the way the characters evolve through the show, it's a very special thing to see. and the first anime is kind of like it's being told chronologically for the most part, and the manga starts later on in his life and then flashes back later.
Oh,
so
that's interesting. So I searched up Berserk 1997 streaming, and you can find it on the Internet Archive.
Well, there you go.
So it's Japanese with subtitles. The dub might be a little, well, depending on where you're looking, obviously. But I don't want to, like, again, it's one of those weird rights issues where, yeah, you can go to the Internet Archive and you won't have to do anything like sketchy or anything like that, which I would recommend. Support the official release, obviously.
Yeah.
They really need to re-release. So I think they did re-release that anime on Blu-ray in some territories, but I'm not sure if those are official releases.
I want to say no. As far as I am aware, it's only the movies that have been on Blu-ray and the second anime series. But yeah, it's unfortunate, but I do want to say that even though he has passed away, his legacy lives on, and for those who have enjoyed the story, I hope this inspires you to create something new, something that speaks truthfully to what it is to be human, what it is to be sad, what it is to be happy. Go explore the depths of what makes you, and to his friends and family, we want to extend our condolences, and to Miura Sensei, we want to say thank you for everything that you've done. And it's rough, and for those who have followed the series for so long, also our condolences to you, because if you are a fan of someone and they pass, it can also feel like you're losing a loved one. So
a friend of mine actually just recently read all of Berserk, and she really felt that.
It's unfortunate. He was also so very young.
And I'm hoping, and hopefully this gets the manga publishers to really do a little more with, like, in regards to their author's health, which we already see Shonen Jump kind of taking steps to do that.
With the digital release schedule, but we don't know if that actually translates into like effective and major reform that is needed, because the weekly manga schedule is grueling. Even the monthly schedule is grueling, and a lot needs to be done to make sure that people that create manga are paid fairly, that the animators who animate anime are paid fairly, that it becomes a healthy industry overall. And I hope that Miura can rest now, finally. And it's sad all around, but his legacy lives on. Go watch the anime, go play the games.
His legacy really lives on, yeah.
Influenced by him. Go read the manga if you can.
It's so interesting that, like, Berserk, like, 1989, it's before I was born. But, like, in the grand scheme of things, it's, like, not even that long ago for something that was so influential. I mean, like,
it's going on
one of those things.
Go ahead.
I mean, I guess because it just feels weird because it was still going.
Yeah, that is true. I mean, a lot of manga from that period are still ongoing, I want to say.
Dragon Ball. But
Dragon Ball, One Piece.
That's a special case. One Piece was 1997,
98.
Yeah, something like that.
So but even still, it's really felt. So I hope you're able to mourn. I hope you're able to enjoy what legacy he left behind. And if you want to support publishers directly, don't pirate. There are ways to remedy that. Shonen Jump has
also Shonen Jump app is $2 a month, and you don't even have to do the $2 a month if you're doing a manga like from the recent chapters. For the most recent 3 chapters are free.
Yeah, and you have also
of an ongoing manga.
You also have for international audiences the Manga Plus service. Bookwalker, Kadokawa's online bookstore, is also available pretty much everywhere.
I do wish more of these magazines got, these official translations and these apps, because it makes everything so much more accessible and, easier to support the official release, which is great.
If I'm not mistaken, you have Shonen Jump that publishes their main magazine.
Probably the biggest one.
Digitally too. You have the individual titles that are being released digitally. Kadokawa does it via Bookwalker with partnerships with other big publishers. Kindle, Amazon Bookstore, Barnes and Nobles, you name it. You can support the industry officially, and that also contributes to a healthier system overall. But to bring it back to Kentaro Miura, Berserk is a anime series from the 90s. You have a CG sequel series of sorts, which varies in quality.
The movie trilogy still looks pretty good most of the time.
The movie trilogy is there. There's also the Musou game. But
so I noticed something about that.
Mm-hmm.
So that probably had the kind of limited print and maybe the price went up recently because of his passing. But on Amazon, the English version of that was about $90, and the Japanese version was $40. You can also get it digitally. It's on PS4 and Steam. Although the Steam version apparently has some issues. Casey DeFreitas actually reviewed it for IGN back when it came out. She gave it a 6.3 out of 10, I think. She said it was a bit repetitive and maybe should have had co-op, but it was still fun.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's a Musou game.
Yeah.
Those tend to happen sometimes. That tends to be a criticism sometimes.
Yeah. But I think that's all we can say about Kentaro Miura's untimely passing.
Yeah.
It's still being felt. I guess.
Yeah, I was feeling it harder than I thought today, where I was just because just seeing everybody kind of just mourn, not just mourn, but what's the more positive word for just remember his legacy and stuff like that?
More like reminiscing of.
And reminiscing, mourning, a combination. It just had a lot of feelings, and it just made me think about a lot of my favorite creators and their impact on me.
Have you seen any of the anime or movies?
I seen the first movie and I watched the first episode of the anime last night.
Oh, okay.
I saw the first movie I think when they first put it on Netflix, I was like, oh hey, Berserk, I heard that was good, and I remember enjoying it enough.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it's not just because before I had this thing where I thought it was just one of those things, it was violent for the sake of being violent, and some say that at the start it kind of seems that way, but then as Miura
it is
aged,
violent.
It was kind of became something more about hope.
Yeah, it is violent, but
very dark world.
It's not violence for the sake of being like edgy. It's not trying to be ultra cool and dark and moody, and it's a story about war. It's a story about people abusing power. I think you can see betrayal. I think you can see influences of that, or a similar story of that in Vinland Saga, which is also dealing with war, with betrayal, with the consequences of violence. So there are plenty of stories. If Berserk is maybe a bit too much for you, then I highly recommend Vinland Saga. But Berserk is a very special thing, and I think it deserves to be remembered as a special thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you know if like Dark Horse has an app? Because I know they published some Berserk stuff.
As far as I am aware, they don't have a dedicated manga app. But you can get the manga via Kindle and Google Play Store.
Yeah, like I said, Kindle and Comixology,
and maybe Apple Books.
I wouldn't know. I don't have an Apple device. No, so they do have an app. I'm gonna check right now.
Mm-hmm. But you should be aware that the Dark Horse manga, especially like the early editions, are kind of wonky in terms
edited?
In terms of editing, and sometimes the manga was flipped. But I don't know if that's the case with Berserk.
I think because I think Dark Horse, I think they released those deluxe edition, and those deluxe editions are a bit newer.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, the newer ones are probably more faithful to the source material.
Yeah. I'm gonna search it right now, real quick. It is not on the Dark Horse app.
Okay. So Kindle, Google Play Store.
And
those are
Amazon
your best bets
if you want the physical books.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's like all we can say about Berserk and Kentaro Miura's legacy. So thank you for listening. Sorry
I got a little somber at the end, but like that's what happens when such an influential creator
but
passes.
Let's not be too sad. Let's also celebrate his legacy. So
don't be sad it's over. Be glad that it happened. I don't know.
Sure.
I know what to say.
Sure. But thank you for listening. Thank you for joining us on this episode. Be safe out there. Be healthy. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. Get vaccinated if you can.
Yes. Wash your hands. Wear your mask. Please get vaccinated.
Social distance at all times. We're still in a pandemic.
If you're in a group a small group where everybody is vaccinated, you're good. But otherwise, yes, try to social distance, masking, washing your hands. Well, washing your hands in general, even when there's not a pandemic. I mean, obviously, some people don't know that.
Yeah. Take care of yourselves. Go play video games. Read manga.
Read manga. Watch, consume Berserk. You can play Band of the Hawk. You can play the old PS2 game if you can find it.
Yeah.
At like a local retro game shop.
But yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Yep. Matane.